Hey guys, it's Ashley and welcome back to my channel. I am here to do a spring reset. I've seen people doing monthly resets and thought I'd jump on, and instead of doing it monthly because I'm kind of going over the first few months of the year, it'll be a spring reset. So I have actually been like really sick lately, which is why there hasn't been a video for me in the last couple weeks. I actually got COVID for the very first time and it's been rough and I'm still getting over it. So if I sound a little nasally, that is why. Anyways, let's jump in. So first off, I thought I would go over some books that I've read so far this year. I have a list here in case I am looking down. A lot of them I have gotten from the library, and so I actually only have one that I have from my own personal library. So in January, I read 4 books. The first one was Remarkably Bright Creatures, which I listened to on my drive home from Illinois in January, and I actually ended up really loving this. I gave it 5 stars, and it's now like one of my top favorite books so far this year, and I've yet to read anything that has topped it yet. So it actually might end up on my favorites list at the end of the year because it is now up there with some of my all-time favorites. So Remarkably Bright Creatures, if you don't know, is about a woman who works at a small aquarium, and then this younger guy comes and he's also working at the aquarium, and it's kind of just about their relationship with each other, and then also with an octopus that is in the aquarium, and you actually get his perspective as well. And I just really loved it so much. The next one I read was One by One by Ruth Ware, and this one was just okay. It was my very first Ruth Ware book. I read it because it was a choice for a book club at one of my libraries, either on the base or in town. And then I didn't end up getting to the actual book club meeting, but I did finish it, and I rated it 3.5 stars. I just didn't really care for a lot of the characters, and I thought it was kind of slow. Nothing really was happening. So I'm hoping that some of the other Ruth Ware books that I have on my shelf, once I read them, I will like them a little bit better. The next one that I read is You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. This is one that was picked for one of my older book clubs, and I never got to it. And so then I actually listened to this one on audio, and I did enjoy this one. This one was quite different. It was kind of slow and not a whole lot happening. And so it was kind of confusing about why this was considered to be a thriller. But then as the story finally started to wrap up and things started to actually happen, I understood, of course, why it was a thriller. But at the same time, like, the end result of the story was not what I was thinking was going to happen. So I rated this one 4 stars. It was fast paced, and so I was able to complete it pretty quickly, despite it being kind of boring at the same time. The next book that I read is There's a Boy in the Girl's Bathroom by Louis Sakar. This is a middle grade book that I read when I was a kid, so it was a very nostalgic read, and I read it specifically for the word there to fulfill the prompt of there and there for the buzzword readathon. I actually had no books on my shelf that had any of those type of theirs in them, so I just got this one from the library. And like I said, it was a nostalgic read. It doesn't really hold up today. It's about a boy, I think he's in like 4th or 5th grade, and he's very smart, and so he gets bored in school, pretty much is what happens. And so he's a troublemaker, and none of the kids in his class like him, and then a new kid comes and befriends him. So that is the books I read in the month of January. I also read 3 other books with my 7-year-old. Karen's Witch, which is the Little Sister series, number 1. Squishy McFluff, the Invisible Cat, which is the first one in that series, and Karen's Roller Skates, which is Little Sister number 2. So then in February, I read Educated by Tara Westover. I actually listened to this one on audio as well. This one was kind of just like a random pickup for me. I had heard people talking about it, and I knew it was about a woman who had been homeschooled in Idaho when she was a girl. And of course, we homeschool, and we used to live in Idaho. So I was like, I'll try it. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would because it's a nonfiction memoir. And it was just very interesting seeing the process of her growing up with the parents that she had and the process of her style of learning through homeschooling. Nowadays, we would call that unschooling, which is a perfectly normal process of learning for kids nowadays. But back then, it was just like a thing that you didn't see very often. And so I just am quite amazed at how she continued to learn after growing up, despite her background and her parents. I rated that one 4 stars. The next book that I read is the one book that I actually have. It's called The Last by Hannah Jameson. This is one that I've had on my shelves for quite a while, and I actually ended up buddy reading this one with someone from the 52 Book Club. And this one was just okay. I was really looking forward to it. I like post-apocalyptic type survival stories, but like nothing happened in this book, and we never even really found out why they were in a situation like this in the first place, or like what happened to make like the electricity go out and all these things, and you just didn't get any answers. I rated this one 3 stars. This is probably the lowest one that I read. The next one that I read was The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and this is another one I didn't really get on very well with, partially because it's by a British author. Lucy Foley is from England, and I just have a thing. I don't know what it is about British authors. I just do not get on very well with their works and with their, I guess, style of writing. This one was okay. I liked it a bit better than other works by British authors, but again, I did not really care for the private school characters and their mentality, I guess. I rated this one 3.5 stars. Let's see. The next book that I read was Give Me a Sign by Anna Sortino, and this is one that I actually absolutely loved. It is a YA contemporary novel about a girl who is hard of hearing and actually more on the verge of being completely deaf than hard of hearing. She uses hearing aids, but her parents raised her in an oral setting where she is not using sign language, does not even know sign language, and everybody around her just speaks to her, and she's expected to be able to understand what they're saying, but she doesn't really always understand what she's saying. And then she went to work as a counselor at a summer camp for deaf and hard of hearing kids, and there she starts learning quite a bit more about the deaf culture, and she starts learning sign language, and she starts learning how to advocate for herself and the things that she wants for herself versus the things that her parents want for her. She also has a little brother who is also deaf, and her parents are considering getting him a cochlear implant. And I just really enjoyed this book for a couple different reasons. It hit a lot of boxes for me. For example, I grew up with a best friend in school who was deaf, and I can vouch for these type of situations that this girl was going through in the book. They were very true to real life. And I actually also was a counselor at a camp for deaf and hard of hearing kids as well. And after I read the book, I read about the author, and she actually is from Illinois, which is the state I grew up in. And she based some of her story on experiences that she gleaned from a Camp Lyons in Illinois, which is the name of the camp that I went to be a counselor. So it was just all around really enjoyed this book, and I feel like it's a very good representation of deaf culture and would highly recommend it. The last book that I read for myself in February was All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. I had read another book by her, and I had enjoyed that one. Even after going back and reading the synopsis of it, though, I still didn't remember that book, but I had rated it 4 stars, and so I picked this one up. And again, it's not a very memorable story. I enjoyed it. I rated this one 4 stars as well, but I couldn't tell you what it was about. And then I also read 5 more books for my 7-year-old. So there was Karen's Worst Day, which is the little sister number 3, and then the rest of the Squishy McFluff books that we own, which is numbers 2 to 5. So there was Mad Nana Dot, Supermarket Sweep, Secret Santa, and Seaside Rescue. This little series of Squishy McFluff, the invisible cat, is so super cute. My oldest, who is now 15, actually really loved this series when she was younger. We bought these books in England, and she actually wrote to the author, and the author wrote her back and sent her like stickers and bookmarks, and it was just really, really cool. But she's now since passed her books on to my 7-year-old, who also really enjoys them. So then in March so far, I have read 2 more books. There's The In-Between by Katie Van Heydrich. This is a middle grade or possibly YA, I can't remember, nonfiction memoir. And this is about a girl who grew up with a mother and a sister, I believe it is. And her mom is just like one of those free spirits, and they end up moving around a lot. And so this slice of life story takes place in between 2 spaces. So they got kicked out of one house and she lost her job, and so they actually are living in a hotel for, I think it was like 6 weeks. And so it happened during the summer between grades, and so when they had to go back to school, they were still living in this hotel, and they had to travel further because they weren't in the district, and so they were hoping they wouldn't get caught being out of district, and then kind of like keeping it, all the things that she was dealing with, in from her friends and all of that, until the end when her mom got a new job and they were able to find another place to live. And so the in-between is just about that in-between homes time period, and it was okay. It has a lot of commentary about the things that she as a teenager is going through and like having to deal with, especially with her mother, who might have some type of mental disabilities going on. But I found it to be kind of slow. I did rate it 3.5 stars. It was okay. Then I read The Lake House by Sarah Beth Durst, and this one was a YA horror about a girl who was going to summer camp. Her parents are sending her to this camp, and she is arriving a day late, as well as 2 other girls. And when they arrive, they have to go by boat. Like, that's the only way to get to the summer camp. They arrive, the boat guy leaves. He just drops them off and says, go up the path to the lake house. When they get there, the house was burnt down and there's nobody around, and they don't know what's going on, and they have no cell reception, so they have no way to contact anybody. And it's just about what happens, and it's not what you think. So this one was all right as well. It is definitely not what you think, and it's a little disbelievable, so I rated that one 3 stars. And then I've read one other so far with my daughter, Twister on Tuesday, which is The Magic Tree House number 23. And then I'm actually in the middle of The Ghost of Beatrice Bird by Louisa Morgan. It takes place in the 70s. It's about this woman who is a psychologist, and she decides to experiment with some LSD, and then because of these trips that she goes on, I guess she had tried it 3 times, and then now she's seeing these ghosts, which are not real ghosts, but they're like representations of the people's feelings about certain people. It's kind of hard to explain, and she herself is not really able to explain it, but we're just starting to figure out why they're important or what's going on. And then there's another woman who she befriends, and they're kind of helping each other out with this situation. So I am enjoying this one so far, and I'm a little over halfway, and I'm really looking forward to finishing this. So those are all the books that I read so far this year, and that was kind of a lot. So if you're still with me and would like to see what other books that I have on the agenda and books that I've hauled, please stick around. I did do a book haul already of some books that I have purchased. I have actually purchased 35 books so far this year, which is a lot for only 2.5 months. But 21 of them I have already shown you. And so I just have a small stack of some more that I've added, and I thought I would run through those pretty quickly. So the first 2 that I have are Every Summer After and Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I know that these get some mixed reviews, especially this one. It does not seem to be liked as well, but I'm hoping to like them myself we shall see. And then I have Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. I actually found this one at our base attic, which is like a thrift store, but everything is free. And this was on my list to read, so I picked it up. I have Words Composed of Sea and Sky by Erica George. This is one that I picked up at Ollie's. The cover is gorgeous and caught my eye, and then it sounded good too. And then a few friends and I got together with our little girls. We all have like ages 6 and 7-year-old girls, and we all homeschool, and we got together for kind of like a little Galentine's party for them. And at the same time, the moms all decided to exchange a book. And so the book that I received is A Quart of Honey and Ash by Shannon Mayer and Kelly St. Clair. I had never heard of this one before, and I'm not a huge fantasy reader, but the person who gave this to me, they really enjoyed it. So I'm hoping to try it, and hopefully I like it. Then I had some gift cards to Amazon, and so I purchased 2 more books as well. I got Gleanings by Neil Schusterman, which is the 4th book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy. This is like short stories, I think, after that series. I haven't read the entire series yet. I've read the first 2 books. I need to read The Toll, and then now I have this one. And then I got Marmee by Sarah Miller. This is a novel of Little Women. This is like the Little Women story told from Marmee's perspective. I read Caroline by Sarah Miller, and I absolutely loved that book. So I'm really hoping to read this one and enjoy this one as well. So next, I have some books that are kind of on my radar and probably going to pick through to read in the next few months. The month of March, I'm hoping to also get to Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sayers. I have an online book club, and for that one, we use some TBR cards to help pick our next read. I pull 3 options of book prompts, and then we each pick our own book to fulfill one of those prompts, and then we bring our book and discuss and tell the others about it and how we enjoyed it. And so this is the book that I picked for my prompts, and I believe one of the prompts is a fantasy book that takes place in the past, which this one takes place, I think it's like 1925, yeah, and then 2004. So I am really looking forward to this. Then I have a couple library books that I've had out from the library for quite a while, so I really need to get to them this month and turn them in. I have Windfall by Erica Bolstad. I just happened across this one, and it says it's the prairie woman who lost her way and the great granddaughter who found her. And I love Little House on the Prairie and Laura Ingalls Wilder. So anything to do with that kind of time era and area of the country, I like to read about. So I thought this sounded really good. And then I have After the Fire by Will Hill. I'm not quite sure what this is going to be about, but by reading the synopsis, it kind of sounds like maybe it's a cult story, and it's a YA book. So I thought it would be a pretty quick read, and I'm hoping to get to this very soon. Then I have another stack of books. These are the ones that I have pulled for the next couple months after March to fulfill the prompts for the Buzzword Readathon. So for each month, I have a few to choose from. So in the month of April, the prompt is nature words, and so these 3 books could fulfill that. I have Teeth in the Mist by Dawn Kurtich, Servants of the Storm by Delilah S. Dawson, and Wildflower by Drew Barrymore. So I'm hoping to read one of those for April. And then in May, the prompt is the word every, the buzzword every in the title. And so I think for that one, I'm going to read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, and then I'll be able to know if I enjoy this or not. So for one of the months of the Buzzword Readathon, now I'm forgetting which month it is, and I may have mixed up my months and prompts. The prompt is repeating words, and I was like, I have one. Never Missing, Never Found by Amanda Panich has the word never repeating. I went through and I found a list of books with the twice in the title, and so a couple of these are those. Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon, The Girl in the Lake, again with the repeating. Hopefully I will be reading one of those in May. And then I just have some library books that I thought I would show you that I picked up from the library. Some of them I've had for a while, and some of them I picked up today. I have Everyone Here is Lying by Shari Lapina, Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen, The Night House by Joe Nesbo, Frozen River by Ariel Lawhan, Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey, The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, The Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips, The Stowaway by Karen Hesse, The 5 Impossible Tasks of Eden Smith by Tom Llewellyn, Grumbones by Jen Bennett, which I love Jen Bennett's YA books, and so this is a middle grade that I just happened upon, and I was like, gotta read that. What the Dead Want by Nora Olson, Keeper of the Lost Cities, this is the first one in the series, by Shannon Messenger, Break by Kayla Miller, I think it's at least the fourth in a graphic novel series, and Sunny Makes Her Case by Jennifer L. Holm and Matthew Holm, which this is also at least number 4 or 5 in the series, and I've read all of these and have really enjoyed them. So that is all the library books. All of these are just ones that I've walked through the library and saw, and they caught my eye somehow, either by the cover or by hearing other people talk about them. And so I have plenty to be reading. And yeah, so that's all I have for you today. I know this was a long video, so if you are still here, thank you very much for sticking around, and leave me a comment or an emoji at least down below so I know that you watched the entire video. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.